Welcome to Unit 2, Chapter 4, Measurement Systems, Exercise 4-1, Questions 3 and 4. I'm going to handle two questions on this one video. Question number 3 is short. It's just a bunch of temperature conversions. So let's take a look at those quickly, and we'll see how that goes. Again, we read the instructions because they are rather important. And here they want us to convert the following temperatures, and they want us to round off the answers to the nearest 5 degrees. So here are the 4 temperatures that are in our book, and it is quite simple. You follow the formula. So on the first one, we're converting 500 degrees Fahrenheit into its Celsius equivalent. And the formula for that is you take the Fahrenheit temperature and you subtract 32. And you put it in brackets because you must do the subtraction before the division. And if you remember your order of operations, if you don't put the bracket, you would have to do the division first. So the bracket assures us that we subtract 32 from the Fahrenheit temperature, in this case 500 degrees. We take the result of that and divide it by 1.8, and we end up with 260 degrees Celsius even. No rounding necessary here. 170 degrees Celsius, we need to go to the Fahrenheit equivalent. And the formula for that is the Celsius degree, 170, multiplied by 1.8, and then you add 32, gives us 338 degrees unrounded, but round it off to the nearest 5 degrees, we get left with 340 degrees Fahrenheit. 150 degrees Celsius, same formula. The Celsius degrees, 150 times 1.8 plus 32 gives us 302. Round that off to the nearest 5 degrees. Your final rounded answer, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the last one is a Fahrenheit back to Celsius, just like our first example. We take the Fahrenheit degrees, 375. We subtract 32, then divide that by 1.8. We get 190.555 repeated, rounding that off to the nearest 5 degrees. Our final answer should be 190 degrees Celsius. So there's how simple it is to convert our temperatures. Please remember, even though the formulas for these two conversions are supplied to you, I must see the logic you've used to get the answer you're going to give me on the test. Therefore, please make sure that your answers look an awful lot like what you're seeing on this screen right now. Let's move on to question 4. Question 4 wants us to convert the following and round them off as indicated in the brackets. So once again, individual questions may have their own rounding demands, so we'll have to look at what they are on an individual basis. Yes, remember to round. In this one, a little bit different. We're going from metric to imperial. We want to go from 14.678 kilograms. We want to convert that to its decimal equivalent in pounds. Now, we're not doing anything different here other than going from metric to imperial. But the secret is still, what is the relationship? We need to know how many pounds there are in a kilogram. And there are 2.2 pounds in a kilogram. So we will multiply the amount of kilograms, 14.678, by 2.2, the amount of pounds in a kilogram, and we get an unrounded answer of 32.2916 pounds. And again, this is pounds because our multiplier, 2.2, is representative of pounds, therefore our answer is in pounds. We still need to round off to 2 decimal places. We have the decimal, then 29. There's our second decimal. We look at the number following that. It's a 1, not big enough to change anything. So we drop the rest of the decimals, and we end up with 32.29 pounds as our final rounded answer. Next question, we're going to go from 485 grams, and we're going to convert that to ounces, rounding it off to the nearest half ounce. Again, the relationship is what is important. How many grams are there in an ounce? There are 28.4 grams in an ounce. So we take the 485 grams that we have, we divide it by 28.4, the amount of grams in 1 ounce, and we get 17.077464. And since 28.4 represents 1 ounce, albeit in grams, 28.4 grams is an ounce, then our answer will be an ounce, and it simply goes to where we want to be at 17.0774. 464 ounces. Rounding that off to the nearest half ounce, we will end up with 17 ounces even, because our two options would be 17 ounces or 17.5 ounces, and I think we can all see that 17.0 is much closer to 17 than 17.5. Next question. Let's go from pounds to kilograms, and then that same amount of pounds into grams. The secret being here, the equal sign between these two units of measure simply means that we want to convert 2.75 pounds into kilograms, and then we want to convert 2.75 pounds into grams. A few ways of doing that. We'll go over both of them. But the first thing we need to know is we need to know what our relationship is. And if we're going to go to kilograms first, we know that there are 2.2 pounds in a kilogram. So let's take the amount of pounds that we have, 2.75, divided by the amount of pounds in a kilogram, 2.2. That gives us 1.25 kilograms. So there is that equivalent. Now we want to take 2.75 pounds and convert it to grams. We can go a few different ways. We can take the kilogram total that we've just calculated. We have 1.25 kilograms. Metric system being really easy. We're going to multiply it by the amount of grams in a kilogram, which is 1,000. And when you multiply 1.25 times 1,000, you get 1,250 grams, and that can be your answer. However, you could have chosen to go from pounds to grams directly, but the only thing different there would be the relationship. And the relationship is how many grams are there in a pound. And as you can clearly see, there are 454 grams in a pound. So take the amount of pounds that you have, multiply it by the amount of grams there are in 1 pound. So you get 2.75 pounds times 454 grams. Your final answer there, or your unrounded answer, I should say, is 1,248.5 grams. You see that there's a 1.5 gram difference between going from your kilogram total to convert to grams and as opposed to going from your pounds total to grams. But since all of these numbers are rounded numbers, as long as you showed me which logic you used, you can have that slightly different answer and still be correct. It will all depend on the relationship that you use. So please remember, show your logic. The next question is 26 ounces. They want us to convert that to grams, rounding it off to the nearest 5 grams. Relationship, 28.4 grams per ounce. We have 26 ounces. 26 times the amount of grams in 1 ounce, 28.4, gives us 738.4. Again, our multiplier, 28.4 grams, or 28.4 represents grams. Therefore, our answer of 738.4 equals grams. So that's where that's going to go. Now, rounding it off to the nearest 5 grams, our two options, 735 on the lower end, 740 on the upper end. I think you know that 738 is closer to 740. So our final rounded answer, rounded to the nearest 5 grams, is 740 grams. We want to take 45 milliliters, convert that to tablespoons. We need to know the relationship between tablespoons and milliliters, and it's simply 15 mils per tablespoon. So let's take the amount of mils that we have and divide it by the amount of mils that equals a tablespoon. In this case, 45 divided by 15 gives us a nice number of 3, and that is exactly what 45 milliliters equals. It equals 3 tablespoons.